The late General Paul Lokech actually got an injury that caused him a clot that then reduced his life and ended it suddenly. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Health experts have warned the blood clots can affect anyone and may lead to significant health problems, but some people are at a higher risk for life-threatening blood clots. Our reporter, Zahra Abigaba, spoke to Dr. Henry Dungu, a hematologist at Uganda Cancer Institute, who reveals that 1 in 4 people worldwide die of conditions caused by blood clots, also known by the medical term thrombosis. In fact, thrombosis is the third leading vascular diagnosis after heart attack and strokes. Details in this report.
There are 2 types of threatening blood clots. Deep vein thrombosis is a clot in a deep vein in the legs, arms, or other large veins. Pulmonary embolism occurs when a clot breaks free and travels to the lungs. Although blood clots can be fatal, many, if not most, cases are preventable. However, I spoke to Dr. Henry Dungu, a hematologist from Uganda Cancer Institute, to understand the circumstances that lead to high risk and severity of blood clots. But first, what is a blood clot?
Blood stops running within the vessels. Ideally, under normal circumstances, blood should be freely running in blood vessels. But under certain circumstances, it stops and then it coagulates and becomes a clot. So it tends to form in deeper veins or arteries. And when it forms in there, we say you have got a blood clot. If it's in the deep vein, we call it deep vein thrombosis.
Statistical information indicates that 1 in 4 people worldwide die of conditions caused by blood clots. This literally means that some people are at a higher risk of developing a blood clot than others, like people above the age of 65, trauma, long hospital stays, surgeries, among others.
Anyone can actually get a blood clot, but there are some situations that make it worse for people. For example, if you are immobile, for whatever reason, you are staying in one place and you are incapacitated, you can't move. Assuming you got a stroke and one part of the body can't move, or assume you got a pelvic fracture and you have undergone surgery, or even if you get a foot fracture and then we cast it, it means we are immobilizing that area and you are at risk of getting a clot.
But how can one tell that he or she has a blood clot?
It is usually in a limb that is affected, and that limb is going to get swollen. It might feel warm, it might feel tender. So what happens, people run and do a massage because the limb feels stiff. Unfortunately, sometimes when they do that, the clot moves.
A blood clot that dislodges and begins moving through the bloodstream can be harmful, like when a deep vein thrombosis makes its way to the lungs and gets stuck.
When the clot goes to the lungs, what we call pulmonary embolism, usually it manifests with sudden onset shortness of breath. When you take a breath, it's like incomplete. You feel pain when you breathe, and sometimes you develop a cough. And when you cough, you might get blood in the sputum that comes out. So those are some of the signs and symptoms that we get when a clot goes into the lungs.
However, if you know you are at the risk for a blood clot, medics recommend that you can help yourself by moving around, eating well, and maintaining a healthy weight.
If you're in your office, if you're at work, if you're at home, if you're traveling, make sure you're moving. Even if you just move your toes, it is good enough to help blood move. And to keep well hydrated, we drink plenty of water, plenty of juice, and reduce on the caffeinated drinks, because that one increases the risk of thrombosis. Reduce on the amount of smoke.
Hematologists say that if blood clots are detected early, they can be managed and treated.
A blood clot, if treated early, can be treated, especially before it goes to other parts of the body. And that's why we're saying it's important to understand that in your leg there could be a blood clot. If we detect it early, we can treat it and you get better. However, if we don't detect it and it keeps on moving and drops into dangerous parts such as the lungs, then it is very, very difficult, because a clot in the lungs can kill you suddenly.
Globally, on average, one person dies every 6 minutes from a blood clot. Don't be one of them. Blood clots can be prevented. Zahara Abigaba, UBC News.